Todos?
Sim.
Sim.
Bom dia.
Sim.
Este é o ato de lançamento oficial do Fórum Mundial de Bioeconomia, que será realizado em Belém, em outubro deste ano. O Fórum Mundial de Bioeconomia é uma plataforma global para os atores envolvidos na bioeconomia circular para compartilhar ideias e promover soluções para os desafios da relação entre a economia e a conservação do meio ambiente. O lançamento se dá com a presença de Sua Excelência, o governador do Estado do Pará, Helder Barbalho. O propósito fundamental do Fórum é encorajar a construção de um novo modelo de desenvolvimento para a Amazônia, a partir da substituição de indústrias, produtos e serviços não renováveis, para facilitar uma economia sustentável e, ao mesmo tempo, diminuir os impactos das mudanças climáticas. Iniciaremos as falas de abertura com o embaixador do Brasil na Finlândia, João Luiz de Barros Pereira Pinto.
Bom dia no Brasil, para nós aqui é boa tarde. Excelentíssimo senhor Helder Barbalho, governador do Estado do Pará. Senhor Ilka Kantola, fundador do BioEconomy Forum. Senhor Mauro de Almeida, secretário de Meio Ambiente e Sustentabilidade. Senhor Marcelo Brito, presidente da Associação Brasileira do Agronegócio. Embaixador José Carlos da Fonseca, diretor executivo da IBA. Senhoras e senhores, é para mim uma grande honra iniciar este evento que anuncia a próxima edição do Fórum Mundial de Bioeconomia em outubro próximo em Belém. Será uma edição especial por ser a primeira vez que este importante evento se realiza fora da Finlândia. E é muito significativo que sua primeira edição externa seja no Brasil, e mais especificamente na Amazônia brasileira. O Brasil tem longa tradição em sediar eventos internacionais sobre sustentabilidade, desde a Rio 92, que consolidou o conceito de desenvolvimento sustentável com seus pilares ambiental, econômico e social, até a Rio +20, que lançou a discussão global que levou à adoção da Agenda 2030. Entre os Objetivos de Desenvolvimento Sustentável para 2030 está a adoção de padrões de produção e de consumo mais sustentáveis por meio de uso mais eficiente dos recursos naturais, da redução e do reaproveitamento de resíduos. A transição para a bioeconomia, mais do que uma meta, é uma necessidade. Brasil e Finlândia têm mais coisas em comum do que aparece à primeira vista. Mas uma que é evidente é a extensão de nossas florestas. 70% do território da Finlândia é coberto de florestas. E há décadas os finlandeses sabem explotar esses recursos naturais de maneira sustentável. Esta é uma razão pela qual os finlandeses são os nossos parceiros de confiança em questões de desenvolvimento sustentável e economia circular. Não por acaso, Brasil e Finlândia estão juntos com outros 18 países na Plataforma para o Biofuturo, que busca ajudar os países a cumprirem seus objetivos de redução de emissão de gases do efeito estufa por meio da promoção da bioeconomia, com a substituição do uso de combustíveis fósseis por opções mais sustentáveis em diversos setores produtivos. No ano passado, os países da Plataforma para o Biofuturo, após consultar especialistas do setor público e privado, publicaram uma lista de princípios para a recuperação econômica pós-Covid-19. Consequentemente, nossos países consideram que a bioeconomia deve ser parte da solução para a recuperação econômica do período pós-pandemia. A terrível crise que nos assola hoje poderá ser seguida de uma oportunidade histórica. O Brasil recentemente reafirmou seu compromisso de reduzir emissões de gases de estufa em 37% até 2025, chegando a 43% em 2030 e com o ambicioso objetivo de atingir a neutralidade climática, ou seja, emissões líquidas zero, em 2060. A bioeconomia certamente será a forma de cumprir essa ambiciosa meta. O momento e o local da 4ª edição do Fórum Mundial da Bioeconomia não poderiam ser mais propícios. Estamos ansiosos para que chegue outubro e que todos possam participar, seja online, seja ao vivo, dessa importantíssima discussão para construir o futuro que queremos. Quero manifestar ainda minha satisfação em ver que a cooperação entre o Brasil e a Finlândia, que existe há mais de 100 anos, promove iniciativas que ultrapassam o relacionamento bilateral e redundam em benefícios para toda a comunidade internacional. Desejo que a próxima edição deste fórum seja um grande êxito. I wish a great success to the next edition of this forum. Muito obrigado. Thank you.
Okay, good morning to Brazil and good day to the rest of the world. My name is Jukka Kantola and I'm the founder of the World BioEconomy Forum. It was only 1 month ago that we announced that the World BioEconomy Forum goes to Brazil, live from Belém. Ever since, I think the things has been progressed very well, and as one sign is that we are having this launching event together with the host, the state of the Pará, and together with our partners in Brazil. When it comes to program, we have already outlined the program that, okay, what kind of messages we are going to deliver through this forum. And it will follow the World BioEconomy Forum agenda. And that consists of 4, let's say, thematic areas, the cornerstones, which we are always keep it in our agenda. The first thematic area, what we are always talking there about, is the bioeconomy, people, planet, policies. And that's how do we then speak together with regulators, together with public organization, because we think that, okay, it's very important that also the decision makers on that front are engaged to the circular bioeconomy, and on the other hand, finding the tools to mitigate the climate change. That's not enough. That's not enough. We need also the leadership in order to make this change happen. And that's the reason we have the second thematic area, which is about the global leaders and the financial world. And there we are typically inviting the CEOs of the big companies. Like last year we have CEO Walter Chalka from Chusano. On the other hand, we had from the oldest, let's say, limited liability company, Stora Enso, the CEO Annika Preski was there together with us. But they are telling what does it then mean to strive with this circular bioeconomy, and what are their measures within their company. And then with the same session, we are also very much covering the topics that when it comes to sustainable financing. We all know that there's money available, and they are finding the ways how to tap into this sector. And that's the reason we are inviting the financial sector to be involved. Last year we have there banks like Citibank, then there was European Development Bank, and so forward. So that is the thematic area number 2. The third thematic area is about the bioproduct around us, because we feel that we own to for our followers and the consumers that what type of products and services one can then cultivate out of the biomass. So typically this is the thematic area where we are inviting the companies and institutes to share their narrative on the field of the circular bioeconomy and mitigating climate change. And what is then left? The fourth thematic area is about looking to the future. And it can be basically whatever. So we need to be selective. And as an example, last year we were very much focusing on this education, because we will feel that it's very, very important that we will get the message across also for the next generation. So we were having this education panel that the sharing the views, how the things are organized around this topic. What about this year? I think that that very topical issue is this that still then the pandemic, we all know that is still around us. So we have selected that we will talk about health and the bioeconomy. It is also very, very topical in Brazil, like everywhere else in the world. Today we will hear more insights from Brazil and what does the circular bioeconomy mean for Brazil and Amazon. And on the other hand, what role does Brazil and Amazon play for this circular bioeconomy and climate change? We have excellent speakers here today, and they do know what they talk about. So I think that we should all listen very carefully what they are going to say. This is precisely how do we organize the things within the World Bioeconomy Forum. We are not the ones who are going to say that how the things should be then run. Opposite that is that we are learning together, and we are learning together, and within this forum it will always ended up with the joint declaration with the local flavor. Last time it was in Finland, and there was some notion that from Finland, and that next year, or I mean that in October this year it will be let's say published with the Brazilian flavor. So you have another good reason to get your way to Brazil and to Belém. I would like to use this opportunity also to remind that we also have some other events than the forum itself. For instance, there will be a next roundtable, World Bioeconomy Roundtable, which will held on 18 of May, and it's about sustainable finances. So please follow our website and you will get some more information about it. So thanks to team in State of the Para to setting up this event, and special thanks to the Governor Helder Barbalho for providing his greetings from the Para state, and also the fight against the pandemic, as we all do, in order to ensure that we will have a safe event in October in Belém. So dear followers, thanks again for joining in, and with these words I would like to hand over back to Brazil.
Good morning, Brazilians. Good afternoon, good evening for those who follow us on other parts of the world. It's a great honor and a pleasure to participate in the launching of this event. Greeting the Governor, Elder Barbalho, and all other public authorities, the ambassador in Finland, and our friend Yuka Katola. Special thanks because a while ago, years ago actually, when we challenged the Council of the World Forum for them to leave Finland and then discuss more the questions regarding the tropical forest, they bought this idea, they embraced the idea, and not just embraced, they actually went along with it and decided and agreed to get out of Finland and go to other places, and giving us the honor to place Brazil as the first country to host the forum. In that same year, as things conspire naturally, I had the pleasure to meet the governor and the Secretary Mauro in the COP in Madrid, and I mentioned to them this thing about the economy forum, and at the same time they said, well, that should happen in Belém. Well, there were many months of challenges, almost a year, so to be able to get everything together to realize this forum. So I thank the effort of everyone in the government of Pará, and also I thank the resilience of everyone in the World Forum that with a lot of patience and wisdom were able to overcome the difficulties to carry out this international event. I heard a while ago that bioeconomy in Brazil is a free topic, and it's put at the free will of those who are discussing the matter. That can't be like that. Bioeconomy is a transformation of the production system in the world, and it's through this transformation that we will find ways, disruptive ways, and new paradigms for the development, the world development, especially for the countries in the South Hemisphere in this new context of development, and more importantly, in the development of the preserved forests, the tropical forests, not just in Brazil, but especially in the entire world for their importance in the climate changes. So I thank you very much, and I hope from the bottom of my heart that this event will be a convergence, a point of convergence, so we can live here much stronger in the development and the improvement and in the discussions for the development of a new bioeconomy, not just over the consolidated areas, degraded areas, but also the standing forests in Brazil and in the rest of the world. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in Belém in the 18th of October. With the word, the Executive Director of the Brazilian tree industry, the Ambassador José Carlos da Fonseca Jr.
Bom dia a todos.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here representing the Brazilian tree industry. I also speak in the name of our President, Paulo Artung, and also I greet to the Governor, Elder Barbalho, his secretaries, the speakers, and my old friend and colleague, Ambassador João Luiz Pereira Pinto, and also my friend in Brazil, Marcelo Brito. It's a great satisfaction that IBA had joint efforts to get the support of the private sector in Brazil to realize this event, unprecedented event in Brazil, in the Amazon region, in Belém, a forum to discuss bioeconomy in this perspective today, that it's imposing itself on us. The reality is imposing on the world, especially post-pandemic, that we hope and we imagine that will come to an end very soon. So the debate that's going to happen in Belém, and I also recognize here the effort from Yuka for all his persistence and his effort and also his team, so that this event could become a reality. Brazil, as we will see with our presenters here, but for those outside Brazil, it's always good to remind them, it's the country with the largest biodiversity in the world. Around 20% of the world biodiversity is in Brazil due to our territorial extension, of course, our biomasses. And the bioeconomy, well defined by Marcelo, has guided our sector, specifically of planted forests, that today represent an economic activity that is with a lot of strength in Brazil, with social impact. We are present in more than 1,000 municipalities in Brazil, most of our states. We generate more than 3 million jobs. It's a sector that contributes very positively to the commercial balance in Brazil. It's also, since a long time ago, has had an agenda to follow what's more demanding in terms of to have a very rigorous adoption of guidelines and standards. We were a pioneer adopting the international certification systems, social environmental certifications, and we feel that we are part of bioeconomy since always, and not just produce the most common items that come from the basic agro industry, pulp, biomass, coal, but also an infinity of other bioelements and bioproducts that make that the tree, and as a consequence, our nature, is a true refinery of new products that are already present in our realities, and with the continuation with debates such as this and important research, and also investments in innovation, science, and technology shall be present in our lives in the future. So our sector has around 9 million hectares of planted forests for industrial and almost 6 million hectares of in areas of preserved forests. So we have a great interest in to participate in those debates that will carry out in Belém, that so we can have a very important reference as we had regarding the climate changes and also biodiversity in 1992 in Rio. So congratulations to the state of Pará to have had the view and understand that this is a moment to discuss bioeconomy with a broad sense, with a very pragmatic, to understand its contribution to the well-being of people, our society, and also our people. So it's with a great satisfaction that IBA is part of this joint effort. So for the event in Belém to be very successful and a reference for the future. Thank you so much. With the word, the State Secretary for the Environment and Sustainability, Mauro Almeida. Thank you very much. Good morning to the ones present here. Good afternoon, good evening for those watching in around the world. Good morning, my fellow panelists, the governor and Professor Eve Roger. Good morning, everyone. Marcelo Brito, Ana Leila, José Carlos, the Ambassador João Luiz. Good morning, everybody. It's a great satisfaction to me as Environment and Sustainability Secretary of the State of Pará to be in this moment, closing this cycle that was launching this event. After all the challenges that we face, so that formally it could become a reality and had a date and a planning to happen. The bioeconomy topic and circular bioeconomy is present in any debate, world debate. There is a perspective for transformation since the Industrial Revolution that the bioeconomy is the new revolution. Due to this, the fact that the forum is taking place, a world forum is taking place in the Amazon, in Pará, the largest diverse biomass in the world, it's a great satisfaction and a joy. As Marcelo Brito mentioned, there are many concepts of bioeconomy, but in this forum, we will have our place to speak as an Amazonian people, but also not just the Amazon in Pará, but also the Amazon. The governors of the other states of the Amazon, my fellow colleagues, secretaries, and we will say what is our concept, and we'll discuss what is the best concept of bioeconomy and how can be applied for what and for who. There isn't transformation without economy, but also the economy won't be transformed without a sustainable environment. And also if we don't have the goal of social justice. And our focus will always be the people of the Amazon, the people of Pará, the Brazilian people in this transformation of the economy. At this moment, I'd like to thank my team, the support of the governor, the Ambassador Everton Vargas that is listening and watching us certainly, our international relations advisor, all my team that made this event a reality in Belém. And tell everyone that our expectations are the best possible in the event. And also launching this idea of convergence among everyone. At the end, I would like to thank the presence of Ricardo Nobre and the Professor Roger V. That are going after the speech of the governor will give an idea about the concept of biodiversity in Brazil and also the practice that they have been living in the day-to-day through the experience of Embrapa and José Revé that has a space in the Science Park of Guamá, the only science and technology park in the Amazon that is in Pará. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, Yuka Cantola, for the opportunity, for the trust to have kept the perseverance and to be able to hold this event outside Finland and be a truly world event. Thank you so much. Now we pass the word to His Excellency, the State Governor of Pará, Elder Barbalho. Good morning, everyone that is following us at this moment in Brazil. Good afternoon and good evening to those who are watching us in other parts of the world. It's with a great satisfaction in the name of the state of Pará to be able to be a part of this historical moment of launching of the World BioEconomy Forum. I'd like to initially to greet Mr. Yuka Contola, President of this forum, and also highlighting our gratitude for the opportunity to have this partnership and the wise decision to, for the first time in its history, to have this important event to be to come out of Finland and choose the heart of the Amazon as a stage for the debate regarding bioeconomy in the world. I'd like to greet the Secretary, Environmental and Sustainability Secretary, Mauro de Almeida, in his name and the name of the Ambassador Everton, our International Relations Secretary, to greet all the collaborators of the state government that worked very hard to build this partnership with the World Bioeconomy Forum. I'd like also to greet our partners. Without them, certainly would not be possible, and also especially Abagi, in the name of Marcelo, the Ambassador José Carlos, and also our dear Paulo Artung, both representing IBA, also registering at the same time my greetings to these collaborators that will be a part of this panel today. Also, I'd like to greet Carlos Nobre, as well as having the opportunity to greet Ana Euler Roger Hervé from the Federal University of Pará. Also, I'd like to greet and register with a lot of satisfaction that we are able to be together with Ricardo Abramovay. When we mentioning them, I'd like to register the satisfaction of being here today to decisive step forward to launch this event that we understand that it means a new paradigm to the bioeconomy in Brazil, and certainly due to the leading role of the Brazilian biomass and of the Amazonian biomass especially. This paradigm represents the immediate repercussion. The state of Pará reaffirms its commitment to the climate balance policies and the search for solutions for development, sustainable development as a spring for the balance between the generation of opportunities jobs and livelihoods to the millions of Amazonians and Brazilians that dwell here, without ever forgetting our responsibility to have a privilege in our soil, having what's most valuable in terms of biodiversity, in terms of fauna and flora in the planet. From this commitment, we consolidate the Amazon Now program. This program that was launched at the COP25 in Madrid, that sought to present, and since then, showing to the world stage transversal programs that will consolidate the logic that will seek the sustainable development. The results begin to arise. The state of Pará in 2020 could present in areas of state responsibility and jurisdiction significant reductions in deforestation. However, we know that we need to advance even more, and the challenge is the size of our territory. And it is because we understand that we seek a need for solutions, that we see the bioeconomy as a solution, a central solution to the economic biodiversity, to the plurality of opportunities that the bioeconomy can bring us. And we believe firmly that this forum will be a strategic stage for the exchange of knowledge and for building collectively ideas and solutions that will allow Brazil and the world to build a new time for the biomass and for society. I also would like to use this opportunity to reaffirm for those that will come to visit us in October that the state of Pará will work relentlessly in fighting the pandemics, so that at the time when the time for the forum comes, we will have with immune coverage, with vaccines that will represent effectively actions that will allow us to build a safe environment post-pandemics. At this moment, Belém begins the vaccinations of its elderly, arriving this week to those above 70 years. And certainly, and in this first semester, we will consolidate a set of targets in our society so we can beat this pandemic that has brought so much sadness and difficulties to the planet. We will win over the difficulties with union, work, and commitment. And with this fighting spirit, I invite everyone to come to our capital in the metropolis of the Amazon, being able to visit this fantastic region of the planet, so that here we are able to host the biggest and most important bioeconomy forum in the planet. And from this moment onwards, we can build together a new time, a new era of commitments and solutions to the world from the sustainability, climate balance, and commitment to the forest. You are all welcome. We wait for you, certain that it will be a unique moment in the history of the planet. Thank you very much. We will begin now our main conference with Dr. Carlos Afonso. He is the researcher of climate studies of USP, coordinator of Amazonia 4.0, third Amazonian Way, and the president of the scientific panel to the Amazon, recently awarded by the North American Association to the Advanced AAAS. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for those in Europe. Mr. Governor, Secretary Mauro, Professor Reve, and our colleagues, Ricardo Mamavai, Ana Euler. It's a great satisfaction to be able to be in the launching of this forum, which seems to me an event that is quite historical. We hope that it is actually, in terms of the directions and the search of a new model of sustainable development to the Amazon. I'm going to speak about some aspects in my presentation. I'm not going to go in many economic aspects because we have brilliant economists that are going to participate and make their presentations. The first aspect that I think is worthwhile and has been mentioned before, but it's important to highlight the importance for this event. And especially being Belém, it is the symbolic meaning of being in a tropical country outside Finland in the Amazon. It's the fact that internationally, as Marcelo has highlighted, although you don't have a very clear definition of its bioeconomy, when we talk about circular bioeconomy in Europe, North America, and Japan, Australia, New Zealand, etc., and China, we always think about a bioeconomy, circular bioeconomy, and the substitution of the burning of fossil fuels. That's an aspect, it's almost symbolically, as climate changes, in my opinion, are the greatest changes that mankind has faced. We are in a climate emergency. We have to rigorously meet the Paris Agreement targets. We need to reduce to zero the emissions till 2050 of the planet as a whole. And with the 70% of the emissions come from fossil fuels, a lot of the circular bioeconomy in most countries, it is related to the concept of the substitution of oil. It's something that is unique when you think that to go back 150 years in the history of humanity, before the beginning of the use of the fossil fuels as coal, and then more recently petroleum and natural gas. And it is very important for the climate stability and sustainability of the planet and our lives, and not mention the life of everything that exists in the planet, that we leave most of the fossil fuels buried in the ground forever. So that's a great challenge, and it seems to me as the greatest of all, because the burning of fossil fuels and the use of its energy, it is totally connected to the economic development of the 19th, at the end of the 19th century, 20th and 21st century. So it's a major challenge. And the bioeconomy, a circular bioeconomy, it is, especially in Europe, looks towards the substitution, the complete substitution, replacement of fossil fuels. And also other elements that generate emissions as the production of steel and cement. So we need to go back 150 years or more. And especially the architecture, we need to start using more wooden structures, fibers, but the modern technologies make this challenge possible to be overcome. So this is the major challenge. It seems that we don't have more technological barriers for that circular economy to take place. And also is the speed. The second problem is the speed that we need for achieving that. We need to zero emissions till 2050, the liquid emissions, the net emissions. So to arrive at this level and also the most ambitious targets of the Paris Agreement, 1.5 degrees, the tropical will be above 2 degrees. We would have one of the ways would be to reduce the emissions in half till 2030 and another half till 2040 and another half till 2050. So we need to go from 40 billion tons of carbon. We would reach 20 in 2050, 5%, and this 5% could be balanced with forest regeneration that would remove at least 5 billion tons of carbon, and then we would reach the target of net zero net emissions. It is important to us to keep this planet as a inhabitable place. And that's the first aspect. The event in October will be very important for it to define clearly what it is a bioeconomy for a tropical country, because differently of other countries, 70% of the emissions of greenhouse gases in Brazil come from deforestation and also from agriculture. 24% comes from fossil fuels. So our challenge to join this world effort is to generate a circular bioeconomy, but that bioeconomy should lead to zero deforestation in all biomasses. That also will lead to an enormous area of forest restoration in Brazil. In Brazil, if it once can become a country that most removes carbon from the atmosphere, CO2 from the atmosphere, with the forest restoration programs, as it starts to practice the modern agriculture that uses less areas. It's verticalized. You can see in North America, it has been decreasing the area of agriculture. The production has increased in Europe for more than many decades, has been reducing the area for agriculture, and the production has been increasing, especially Holland. The Netherlands is an example for modern agriculture. It uses 19,000 square kilometers for agriculture and exports the same volume, not the same production volume, but the same worth of production of Brazil, around $90 billion a year. So that the same thing happens in Japan, and China also has one of the largest programs for forest restoration. So it's only in the tropics that there is still an expansion of the area for agriculture, especially cattle farming. So we have to introduce the modern agriculture, the 21st century agriculture, and reduce the area, agricultural area, freeing an enormous areas for forest regeneration of all kinds, industrialized agroforest systems have an enormous potential. So these are aspects that the event in October that can bring to the attention of the world and allow that all tropical countries can see this new economy. Let me say why this is so important to Brazil and to the Amazonian countries. That's the second part of my brief. I would like to talk a little bit about the risks that the Amazonian forest is facing. We are very, very close to a point of no turning back that I call a risk of savanization. What that means? It means that the climate of the Amazon starts to change and it becomes to have a climate that is much closer to the tropical savanna climate, like the Cerrado. And then the forest will disappear and will become a savanna-like, a Cerrado, not very degraded, not with the richness of the biodiversity of the actual Cerrado. And it also holds a lot more carbon, has a much larger carbon stock than the savannas in Africa. But it's a biomass that is adopted with a drier climate, for a drier climate, and also with a long dry season. Savanna, Cerrado, 4 to 6 months of dry season. Tropical forest, less than 3 months of dry season. So what are we seeing? I did in 1990 when I raised this hypothesis for the first time was a study back then with computational models, climate computational models. So I did a study that I showed that if you deforested the Amazon, the forest would not grow back because the climate would just get drier and drier. We have a much longer dry season, so we would get a savanna like a Cerrado biomass. But we advanced a lot in this. And today it's not just projections of computational models. The major concern that we are seeing this happening in the south of the Amazon, the Peruvian Amazon, Bolivian, Acre, Rondônia, north of Mato Grosso, Pará, to the Atlantic, the dry season is 3 or 4 weeks longer with relation to the 80s. 3 degrees. And the forest is already recycling less areas. And also a study that has been submitted to publication that in many areas the forest is not removing carbon from the atmosphere as much. So the forest recycles menos trees. The air gets hotter. It's hotter air and drier. So it prevents the creation of clouds, so you have less rain. So it rain less in the dry season, so it gets even drier. So that's a very concerning data, and the most concerning data is the studies in the last 2 years that show the mortality rate of the trees of the Amazonian species of humid climates. They are increasing in all this vast region that goes from Peru to Bolivia, going all the south of Brazil, all the way to Amapá and French Guiana, all around this region. The savanization process, it is evident when you look at the mortality rate of the tree, because the trees that you have in the Amazon and also are present in the Cerrado, they are already naturally resistant to the longer dry seasons. They are not increasing its mortality. So this is a great risk. I use the expression the tropical forest only exists because the forest exists. It's an ecosystem that is very complex, where the biodiversity creates all the conditions with a great efficiency of recycling nutrients because the soil is very poor. So it recycles the water, so it creates the atmospheric conditions to rain in the Amazon. During this dry season, there are some rain. There is a little bit of rain. The forest in most of the Brazilian Amazon, the center of the Amazon, the primary productive, and it's in the dry season, it's not in the rainy season. It's totally different from other biomasses. So that's a unique characteristic of the Amazon, the biological evolution during millions of years. The geology create a unique forest that is able to maintain itself. So the tropical forest only exists because the forest exists. So this is a ecosystemic service that is gigantic. The science today can explain this, continues to study this to explain it, but the risk is enormous. So I'd like to wrap up uh, saying a phrase that President Ivan Duque said in the World Economic Forum in January. And he created this expression that I liked very much, and I think it is exactly the pillar of the event in October, especially the part of the event in October, circular bioeconomy, that affects all the tropical countries. And his sentence was, to the Amazon, conserve to produce, produce to conserve. So this circular bioeconomy keeps the forest standing up. It's a standing forest economy. It is important to conserve the forest standing up, to preserve the production, as Professor Hever is a great specialist in acai, with enormous potential with the products deriving from the standing forest, and a new bioeconomy with the standing forest producing. It's very important to conserve the Amazon, because then keeping the forest standing up will produce, industrialize, and generate economic value and well-being for the Amazonian populations. And I'd like to finish here once again and being very honored to be a part of this. And I'll be presentially, hopefully, in Belém in October, and it will be an event that will be very important to the sustainable future of the Amazon. Thank you so much. We'll begin the participation of Dr. Ricardo Abramovay, Senior Professor of Environmental Science of the Energy Institute, Environment Institute of the University of São Paulo, author of the book Amazon for Economy of Knowledge of Nature. Thank you very much for the invitation. Congratulations to the Governor Elder for hosting this event that goes way beyond the sectorial interest of those who work on bioeconomy. Your government, under the auspices of the Secretary Mauro Almeida and yours, to host this event is an expression of something that Brazil really needs, which is the conviction of the importance of democratic multilateralism, the international cooperation supported by science, common sense, and in our capacity to receive and value talents coming from all around the world. So I'm going to greet you for this, and also my panelists, my fellow panelists, Marcelo Carlos Nobre, Ambassador Jose Carlos, and Hervé. Well, I'm going to make a presentation raising a few problems, the same as Carlos. As a Brazilian and migrating to Yucca also, I had the privilege to be a part last year of the forum, and it was very good that now it will take place in the Amazon region. My first point is this event is in an international context that we need to take into consideration what it is. What is that? In from 24 to 26 of April in Washington, we'll have in the National Science Academy a meeting of the laureates, of the Nobel laureates, whose topic is our planet and our future. And the basic message of the document that will inspire this meeting and was prepared by the Benja Institute, especially called FORC. The main message is biodiversity has to be in the forefront of economy, commanding the economy is not something that we need to take into consideration, otherwise will be destroyed. No, it's a lot more than this. And this message, as it seems to me, will be a core point, will be central in those 3 global meetings to happen in 2021. The first one will be the food global systems that for Brazil is fundamental, as Brazil today is a agro potency in its ways of production have a repercussion not just in the offer of food, energy, fibers, and etc., but also a repercussion in the biodiversity itself. The second meeting, which will be held, was the biodiversity biological biodiversity convention that Brazil will be highlighted. So, and the last one is the climate conference, all depending on the evolution of the pandemics. But 2 conclusions which are important in the document that inspire the meeting, the summit of the Nobel laureates in Washington. The first conclusion already mentioned, biodiversity will be in the commanding the economy. But the second one is equally important and needs to be together with the first one. So for humanity to feel the needs of the set of the body of its inhabitants, there is necessarily drastic reduction of inequality. Imagining that if we don't reduce inequality, the economic growth will be able to emancipate all populations that live in poverty, and today it's an illusion. The economic growth is extremely important. However, it cannot have a rhythm that will impair the offer of ecosystemic services of which we all depend. And we bet on the growth of the gross product of 5-6 times that would elevate us to the income threshold of the developed countries is completely illusory, no matter how big the technological progress is and no matter how big the advancement of the bioeconomy. So in that sense, Klaus Schwab in the Economic World Forum mentioned that we need to do a reset of the economic life. It's not to fix here or there. We need to rethink the entire set of ideas of the economic life and our capacity of meeting the human needs with the maintenance and regeneration of the biosphere and the ecosystemic services that it offers us and of which we depend. Why do I say this? I say this because, and I'm going to say this not as a provocation, but as a sincere reflection, because bioeconomy is not automatically a synonym of valuing the biodiversity. This is a point that we are going to need to discuss. It is possible to make bioeconomy, as Carlos Nobre mentioned, to replace fossil fuels, to produce new materials. That has been done in a scale that is a growing scale, but it's perfectly possible that these realizations are also done improving biodiversity. When bioeconomy supports itself in extensive crops and monocultures, that can lead to the erosion of biodiversity, genetic biodiversity, and many other manifestations of biodiversity. What I'm saying here It's not that this is happening, but that it can happen in the scientific literature about sustainable development. Currently, it's very concerned, and that will be a fundamental topic in the conference that will happen in 2021, not just with the maintenance of the forests, but also with the capacity of the offer of agro and forest products coming from planted cultures also contribute for the value of biodiversity, whether it's in the vegetal production or animal production. We know that the great concentration of animals offer a immense risk of contamination of human populations, and that's a topic that's in the daily discussions of the World Health Organization, Animal Health Organization, and the joint and the junction between the reflection of regarding agriculture, health, and human health. This is in the contemporary agenda and also has to be in the bioeconomy agenda. With regards to the forests and especially the tropical forests, our I have the honor, together with Joyce Ferreira from INAPRA, to be writing with the active collaboration with Eve and Ana, the bioeconomy chapter of the science panel for the amateurs. And our major conclusion after we go through a broad literature, vast literature refers to the gigantic distance that there is today between the tropical forests and the scientific and technological frontier of the contemporary bioeconomy. The tropical forests are not part of this frontier. One of the fundamental objectives of the forum, of Bioeconomy Forum that's going to take place in the land, is that we are able to trace the ways through which in Amazon a bioeconomy, stronger bioeconomy will emerge, stronger than the current. I'm not saying that this bioeconomy doesn't exist. They studies it, and then also it exists. They study it in a very circumstantiated way, but what I'm saying is that this economy is far from that, that it's more the major characteristics of the contemporary bioeconomy, which is its contribution, its support in science and technology. But that raises not a bigger problem that was raised in the document of 2008 of the Brazilian Science Academy, led in a certain way by Carlos Nobre, and also our dear Beta Beca, which is the essential question. The world, until today, doesn't know any forest society that is developed. We will be capable to create the conditions so this reality, for this reality to emerge, this historical reality that has never emerged, which is of developed forest societies. How? My question of the former president of Colombia, it reflects this concern. We need to use without destroying, and the use is fundamental for the development and to avoid destruction. And in that sense, we have three fundamental challenges the Bioeconomy Forum will put before us. The first one is the reduction in the distance between the economy of the social biodiversity, forest social biodiversity in the Amazon, which is very important, and it is fundamental to protect, that is being carried out fundamentally by this set of populations, of which the traditional populations are a decisive part, supported by activists that do a spectacular job in the Amazon. I'm going to go back to that question. Reduce the distance between the Amazonia and the bioeconomy frontier is strategically fundamental to Brazil. Brazil will not be competitive in microchips, in production of television or automobiles, the major chance that Brazil and Latin America has in the Amazon to be relevant for the scientific and technological frontier of the contemporary societies is in the knowledge and the sustainable use of biodiversity for an immense set of productions. For that to take place, the second challenge, it is necessary that the bioeconomy and the strengthening of the bioeconomy help reducing the poverty present in the Amazon. This poverty needs to be studied in a very clear and circumstantiated manner, but it will not be possible to have a strong bioeconomy if the Amazon continues to have the worst indicators, social indicators in the country. We need to establish, and no one knows exactly how, to establish a organic link between the strengthening of the bioeconomy and the creation and generation of opportunities of flourishment of development for those who are living in the Amazon in an exclusion situation. And a second topic that is very important in the discussions that are going to take place in October refers to the cities. The Amazonian cities need to be cities are that need to love nature more. And if we are not capable to establish this connection between bioeconomy and the strengthening of the social fabric that will allow to improve the livelihood in the cities, the urban poverty will always be a threat to the integrity of the forests. That in a way begins to emerge in a very important way, however, in shy and the importance of gastronomy in Belém. There is fundamental gastronomy in Belém as a way of valuing local products. But it seems to me that one of the major challenges of our forum is to find ways to develop that. Fortunately, today in Brazil, despite all the negative circumstances, we have initiatives in the Amazon region that are extremely important. It seems to me that the most important, it is the consultation, the concert for the Amazon, and it's the only one, as I know, as far as I know, that gather a group of entrepreneurs, social environmental activists, scientists, authorities from the state, government, traditional population, social movements that are able to have strategic discussions for the Amazon, from which documents, extremely interesting documents, a consortium of the governors of the Amazon also is a very important initiative showing how the international instances can establish mechanism for cooperation with people and authority, foreign authorities and foreign powers that are genuinely interested in sustainable development, in the interruption of the destruction and the emancipation of the peoples that live in the Amazon. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Ana Euler, researcher from Embrapa, Amapá, former director of the State Institute of Forests from Amapá, coordinator of the forest management of Amapá, creating references for the territorial development in the Amazon. Good morning, everyone that is watching us in Brazil and other countries. I would like to thank the invitation of our His Excellency, the Governor of the State of Pará, to be a part of this event, which is very, very important to the Amazon, the regional and traditional populations, citizens of the urban areas also. I'd like to congratulate you for the initiative, and in this opportunity, also great all the authorities, entrepreneurs, my colleagues, researchers, Dr. Carlos Nobre, Professor Ricardo Abramavai, Professor Hervé Roger, and also that are the privilege to share experience seeking sustainable experiences and solutions for the Amazon. Finally, I would like to express the enormous challenge and responsibility to represent in this event women, indigenous extractivists, quilombolas, rural producers, researchers, managers, um, that had that have the double journey to take care of their families, that produce wealth for the economies globally and locally. The economy in the Amazon is the economy of law, transformation of biodiversity, with quality of life, opportunities, and generation of wealth to society through systems of production that respect the balance equilibrium of the planet. The forests and the rivers represent the natural vocation of the Amazon region, and the indigenous populations have a lot to teach us with their vast knowledge regarding the species, how to use the forest, potentializing its biodiversity, domesticating the species that are interesting for food and medicine, promoting the conservation of these immense forest and agricultural heritage, transmitting this knowledge generation to generation, sharing this knowledge with the new peoples that arrived here and today that are part of this ethnic society, multicultural society, which is the Amazonian society. As a researcher from Embrapa, I was invited to talk a little bit about our work related to the promotion of bioeconomy in the Amazon. It is important to highlight that Embrapa operates in the Amazon for more than almost 4 decades and has a research unity in all the states of the Brazilian Amazon, being responsible for the generation of technologies and innovations that have been fundamental for the production of food and the social productive inclusion. Among these productive forest productive systems, we can highlight the Brazilian nut, acai berry, guarana, cocoa, babaçu in the fruiticulture, many others such as cupuaçu, tapereba, bacuri, camu-camu, pupunha, bacaba, buriti, tucumã. I'm talking about it for those who are not and not from Brazil to have just a small dimension of the wealth of what we have here to offer. In the vegetal grease and oils, we are studying andiroba, copaíba, pracaxi, buriti, umurumuru, pacauá, cumaru, among many others animal and vegetable species that are native to this region. The research is carried out in Embrapa, oriented to the genetic and to management systems, minimal impact systems, agroforest systems, post-harvest technology. So the results are present in the numerous rural properties that today cultivate in areas which are adapted in the Amazon. Besides, in addition to the many publications that are we have in our database for agricultural research. So these are only a few indicators how much Embrapa has to offer in terms of knowledge to leverage the bioeconomy in the Amazon. But not everything is good news. We also face, all us that live in the Amazon, the great challenge of making that knowledge to reach to the far end of for the agriculturists, the quilombolas, the women and men that live from the rural production, the extractivism, and the forest economy. The technology is not an end in itself. It needs to be accompanied by technical assistance, credit, infrastructure, digital inclusion for access to information, in markets, energy, drinkable water, education, and sanitation. And we can only have that working in a network with a base community organization, cooperation among the different bodies from the government, companies, and organized civil society. It's with the goal of building bridges between the traditional knowledge and the scientific knowledge that we are implementing the project Forest Management and Extractivism with the support of the Brazilian Development Bank and the Amazonian Fund In this project, developed in partnership with communities in the different territories of the Amazon, we are installing technological reference units for the management of diverse species as acai berry, bacuri, babaçu, castanha, andiroba, pacaxi, taking innovations to the system of post-harvest as solar dryers, silos, aerial cables, biodigesters, kits for the beneficiation of acai berry, and also for the extraction of vegetable oils. Our main challenges for innovation in Brapa and Amazon, among them are to add value to the biodiversity products, considering the multifunctionality of the rural space, especially in the family agriculture areas, to increase the traceability and the production, and also management, sustainable management. So to be more competitive in the Amazonian system, to increase the scale, the quality, and the logistics of the production of raw materials and the biodiversity for the development of product processes and sustainable services for industries, agrochemistry, pharmacy, and increase the insertion of bioactives for conventional products and also bioproducts for the bioeconomy industry. There are a number of projects that Embrapa develops in the Amazon, but I would like to wrap up my presentation sharing with you the experience we have in the project Bem Diverso in the territory of the Marajó Island around 3 years since we've been working for 3 years in a program to educate young strategists in the municipality of Afuá. It helped us to monitor the harvesting of the acai berry, and they also act as a multiplier agent of knowledge in those communities. Last year was particularly hard because of the pandemics. We had to do what was not thinkable, to migrate to online platforms to continue the work and offer opportunities for education, training on the use of internet and social network for social productive inclusion. And inspired and influenced by the program led by Dr. Carlos Nobre, Amazon 4.0, we proposed to the young people to the production of audio where they could express their view on the challenges to reach the 4.0 extractivism in the Amazon. And the answer, the unanimous answer of those young people, the access to education, quality education, to technical education, access to internet. The youth, they are avid, they are to access markets and knowledge, and they are the main leaders of the development of the Amazon. I like to finish my speech reproducing messages of some inspiring women. I would like to start with Professor Bertha Becker. They always taught us that using the forest with rationality is the best way to conserve and allow everyone to benefit from its environmental service. Produce to conserve to produce, and produce to conserve. The same message of the President of Colombia, but it's an old message. I also like to share the message of the indigenous Francisca Arara from Acre that highlights the important contribution of the indigenous peoples for the climate equilibrium, and also that the public policy should consider and respect the rights of their people, its peoples, of young people. And finally, the extractivist paraense from Porto de Mós that is online with us now, Dona Margarida Silva from the Verde para Sempre Reserve. She's composed a song, a Braga song, that in the main chord says, let's manage our forest, a good management carry out with the good equilibrium of the forest, improve our economy. It's our right to manage because we've been living here for many years. To manage, we need to create inventory, to be trained. IBAMA needs to authorize. We need to dance. It's with great joy and determination from the women of the forest that I wrap up my speech and thank once again the invitation and the opportunity. It's an honor to be here in this conference, and I'd like to finish inviting everyone to come to the Amazon, discuss bioeconomy and the climate equilibrium in our planet. Thank you so much. Next participation is from Dr. Eve Roger, a professor of the Federal University of Pará, director of the Center of Bioactive Composites in the Amazon. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to greet, first of all, the state of Pará to host the World Forum of Bioeconomy. It is very, we feel very grateful as a researcher and also the entire sector involved in the bioeconomy to be able to host this world event in Belém. I also like to greet my colleagues, Ricardo, Ana, Carlos Nobre, for their brilliant speeches. I would like to do a brief presentation, around 13 minutes, about the importance of research and innovation in the development of bioeconomy in the region.
Então, pode passar. Então,
It has already been contextualized. The challenges of the sustainable development, the 17 objectives, define the main routes for the bioeconomy sector. In this context, biodiversity as a whole, it's very challenging to be valued. We have, as it was mentioned, a very good climate for carbon fixation. And we also have the largest reserve of fresh water in the planet. Something that is very particular, that we have a critical mass now of researchers and people that are graduated and in civil society to be able, in the academia and civil society, to be able to work in bioeconomy, where what we didn't have 25 years ago, that made us to have entrepreneurial sector organizing itself and structuring itself to work with the communities at the end and together with them. So we go progressively from the visualization of the natural products destined to bioenergy, food, biomaterials, or feed, to the product, as the products capable of producing simultaneously food, and also as a residue that is able, that can be used as feed for animals, but also to residue for producing biogas. And in the case of acai, the acai berry, we defined it in the 90s to commercialize this new product, to have a guideline to define what is acai, and in this case define what is the thin, medium, and thick acai. We found also that acai was rich in fats, very similar to the good fats, similar to the olive oil, is rich in fibers, and also antioxidants known as phenolitics compost, together with the grease and the fibers, was a point. It was mentioned as a tripod of the so-called Mediterranean diet, and that justified why there was a very small occurrence of cardiovascular disease in the south of Europe in relation to the north of Europe. We see in this graph the increase, very fast increase. About the phenylatic, we increased since 1993, going from 100 to more than 1,000 last year. So that's a topic very current. And besides the properties for the prevention of cardiovascular diseases today, we have a set of publications showing not just for the acai, but also to cacao, many other properties that are beneficial to health. That's very important to promoting food internationally, but also for the local population. This graph, I show how much acai was studied since the discovery of its composition and its benefits to the health, going from one publication in 96 to more than 70 last year. And asking who is publishing, we see that Brazil publishes a lot. It's way in front of the United States, the first country, and the United States the first country in terms of importing acai from Brazil. We have researched the increase of the production of acai with the relation between the increase with the transmission of the Chagas disease. And we came to the conclusion that the lack of coordinated management and common sense management from part of the population is part that the insects, they would migrate to the acai trees, and then they would be responsible for transmitting Chagas disease. One of the cases that illustrate that how much respecting the conservation, minimally of the biodiversity is fundamental for preserving the health of people. Acai represents more than 4 billion in the Amazonian economy, being that more than 30% it is already in the formal economy. "20 years later, it was possible to have a new guideline to create a new guideline, putting what we have best, which are the antioxidants. What acai has best, which are its antioxidants. So we have now these minimum and maximum. And also the absence of Trypanosoma cruzi, which is responsible for the Chagas disease. It is obvious that research, together with the private sector researching and innovating, we do together with an important work of training and information that my colleague Anna has already mentioned. And we can develop as new technologies, for instance, the clarified acai, which is exported to the United States, but also the acai oil, the acai oil that's very used in the cosmetic, by the cosmetic sector. And also in pharmacies, we have the purified antioxidants from acai. The current challenges is, for instance, to be able to authenticate the acai from the lowlands, from the higher plains, acai that requires more irrigation, intense irrigation, and the contrary to the lowland acai, and also to add more value to the seed. We have initiatives, very quite successful initiatives to fabricate MDF, uh, flocculant agents for the treatment of water, bioenergy, and bioplastic. We are working to maximize the set of those different products simultaneously. With relation to cocoa, the state of Pará, it has become the main producer of cocoa in front of Bahia since 2019. And cocoa, it is native to the Amazon basin. We have more than 20 hybrid species planted since the 70s by CEPLAC. And among those 20 hybrids, we have differences and also a maximized productivity, as there is an important resistance against diseases. In the Amazon region, we come to 800 kilos per hectare, as in Africa, the main countries that produce cocoa reach around 400 kilos per hectare. This represents just to the state of Pará more than 1 billion in the formal economy and more than 300,000 jobs created. Among the challenges connected to the bioeconomy would be to be able to separate from those 20 hybrid, those that have the better qualities, those of intermediate and lesser quality, to be able to have different pricings due to the type of seed. Another challenge to the project Bean to Bar, to create chocolate starting from small volume of productions, which is an initiative that has been quite successful in Bahia, and also to add more value regarding the peel of the cocoa, the shell. Regarding scientific knowledge, we see that cocoa, it is far from being known worldwide, as we went from 10 articles in the 90s to more than 100 last year. So, meaning that cocoa is of current interest. In this case, the United States published a little bit more than Brazil, but see how Brazil it is very well placed in terms of innovation and research in cocoa. What are the next steps taking into consideration the challenges of bioeconomy? Before anything else, to change our food pattern, we need to have a more healthy, eat more healthily. But today, the food is not seen anymore as a nutritional figure, but integrated to a joint of social, environmental, economic areas. Among the environmental challenges, we can mention the smallest consumption as possible of water, and also the smallest consumption of non-renewable energy as possible to reach the production of the industrialized foods. And then the pyramid today, more and more is combined with a pyramid of the consumption of water necessary to produce those products, and also the inverted pyramid, where the environmental harms go from the highest to the smallest. With relation to the economic challenges, of course, to wrap up, we have many challenges in front of us. And I put at the end of the slide a challenge with relation to acai is be able to produce an acai that is very thick with very little water, to be able to freeze with less water and to transport less frozen water, and consequently be more sustainable in terms of energy. I thank you for your attention to watch this exchange of ideas about two products that are genuinely Amazon, which is acai and cocoa. And I pass the word to you. Thank you. This was this launching, official launching of the World BioEconomy Forum, but many preparation events will be carried out by the government of the state of Pará and partners till the actual realization of the forum in October in Belém. We thank the presence of everyone and the participation in YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Thank you very much.